I thought I was basically introducing the main character in the film. But having already seen the film, in a working version, I understood that the main character was Bumblebee. And he looks great.
Bumblebee is the guide to that philosophy and Peter's alter ego.
For a second at the beginning, I thought about the fact that he would be a really beautiful and lovely creature, who would look beautiful and lovely in his own right. A bumblebee is not a creature that is so-called beautiful, in our perception, but we can find that beauty in it. When I came across the Bumblebee guide, I really had no idea what it would mean. And when we finally found out that Bumblebee itself, and its production would cost as much as one full-length Czech film, I was actually somewhat surprised at what I was getting into.
It would be... up to you.
I don't like to do things in a hurry. So I very much welcomed the fact that Peter wanted to do these things in the best possible way.
As a result, he always preferred to make it as involved and to his liking as possible, rather than getting it done quickly.
There's no other project I've worked on where we've had so much time to finish the animation as best we can. Peter just wanted us to do it the best we could, and he let us work until we were satisfied, which you don't get a chance to do on other projects.
I told you something would happen. But what would have happened if nothing had happened?
You always play better when there's someone across the room who's alive and looks you in the eye. So if the character doesn't exist yet, and it's only just finished in 3D, you have to imagine what it's going to look like. Which is almost impossible, because they don't know what it's going to look like.
Bumblebee, as an animated character, was meant to be an acting partner to the other actors who had already been filmed in some way. And the set didn't always do a good job of implementing a virtual character.
The whole shoot was very strange, almost nobody knew what was going on. I think I was the only one who knew. The Bumblebee was presented by Jacob Healy's, who was running around with a stick that had a kind of pom-pom on the end of it. And that was Bumblebee. Or we would set it up in different ways so that John would look at some object. And of course, we had to measure the glare and the atmosphere of the scene, so that we knew how to light the Bumblebee. Just the actors were tasked, once Bumblebee was there, to watch the pom-pom at the end of the pole, and that was significant to them, because they have to be looking at something specific, otherwise the eyes are inherently wavering.
You pinned me into a cabinet.
We tried to be as realistic as possible. Obviously, the character is stylized, but it was meant to work with some realistic physics in a live-action video.
Within the animation team directly, which are the people who just moved Bumblebee around, there were about 5 people across the board.
If you just look at the credits for the American film, you can see at least 40 animators. Whereas there were 4 or 5 of us actively animating the whole time.
But of course, we weren't the only ones involved in the making of Bumblebee. We had a whole department of 3D modelers who were making virtual objects for the whole film. But then also things for us, because in a lot of shots Bumblebee interacts either with the real environment or with an object.
Probably the biggest challenge in terms of animating Bumblebee himself was keeping the character from an animator's point of view across the several, even many animators who animated the character. Because each animator has a slightly different approach, a different workflow, and different results come out of it.
I did it.
Well, you did. It's just that if you want it there, it's just going to look like that.
Yes, that's how I want it to be seen.
Motion capture is a way of digitizing the movement of a real person. With actors, you record some kind of movement, or possibly the way they say a line when their face is captured. This is then translated into digital space and applied to virtual characters.
We only used motion capture for the facial animation provided by Peter's acting.
I chose my face for a simple reason. Because I wrote all the stuff. I wrote the whole script, so I thought, since I wrote it, I'd give him facial expressions.
I feel like the original idea was to animate Bumblebee for about 2 years. Then it turned into, I think, about 6 years, and a couple of extra years of rendering and additional stuff.
You can see that many people spent much time on it and that they didn't settle for it as a so-called first good one. The Bumblebee really is there as a result of a long development process, and it shows.
The situation is completely different today, because technology is moving forward at a tremendous pace. That means that for some of the shots that we were retiming, that means we were recalculating the speed. Today, those technologies can already do it much better. Today's capabilities are somebody completely beyond that. But I think the most important thing for me was that the film be timeless, that it not be a film for the memoirs, and that the trick scenes be as they would be if they were shot today.
The meaning and mystery of life.com